Welcome back to Fantasy Football by Committee, powered by Flurry Sports. It can be tough to win a fantasy league on your own, but at FFBC, we will work together to bring home the hardware. Hosted by Zach Bruner and the rest of the Flurry Sports crew, we will give top-level analysis, answer your questions, and, well, go off on other tangents.
That was after I tried to get ChatGPT to admit that 9/11 was an inside job, but it stood firm. It gave quite a few solid points that it was true.
Welcome to Fantasy Football by Committee. The show starts in 3, 2, 1.
And we'll start with the biggest headline of the day, and that's the Joe Burrow injury. A non-contact injury. He was already wearing a sleeve on, I believe it was his right leg, rolling out during a play, and something popped, it looked like. He came up weird, went down to the ground. It's being called a calf strain right now. I can only imagine there's already something wrong with the calf if he was wearing a sleeve on it already. But it seems like he dodged a major, concern, a major injury. It's just a calf strain is what it's being called at the current moment. And yeah, so I expect him to be back week 1. However, when do you guys think he's going to be back? I can't imagine he comes back much earlier than week 1.
Yeah, probably week 1, right? Week 1's probably the earliest. I was just said I can't imagine that, given that he can come back before week 1, I think, Zach Taylor's going to have some big hesitancy. Put him out on the practice field, put him out in scrimmage, put him out in preseason games. Not that he's going to play in preseason games, but it almost feels like Joe Burrow's football activities are done till week 1, right?
I don't know why you would bring him back,
Right.
Especially just because, there really isn't many new moving parts to this offense. So they should be on the same page. There's some offensive line stuff, but, Joe Burrow can do, he can do the cadence even. He can do stuff like that while I just had to look up the depth chart. Trevor Siemian's the backup there, so they actually have a decent backup. I think Trevor Siemian's an all right football player. If for some reason this becomes major, though, it's probably Carson Wentz that's going to be coming to Cincinnati. I don't know who else would go there, but we don't need to talk about that at the current moment. But Trevor, we saw the injury. You saw the injury. You saw what happened. I'm surprised how quickly the injury diagnosis came out.
That's what I thought.
It was minutes. But how are you feeling? What were you feeling about it? What's your major takeaways from a calf strain for Joe Burrow?
I'm not too worried about it. Obviously, I think long-term ramifications, he already has a sleeve. He's not going to be playing until week 1. There's just no reason, especially with playing the Browns week 1. You kind of need both calves to run away from Myles Garrett, just my opinion. But he's got, pretty much a month and a half here until week 1. He should be fine. These guys have the best medical staff probably in the world in terms of, being an NFL player. So he's going to be rehabbing it constantly. It wasn't something where obviously they were hoping, they were holding their breath, but it wasn't something where it looked like Armageddon out there where you're like, oh shit, we just lost our season. So for that, I'm not too worried about it. And, as for the cart thing, everybody uses carts. There's no point in having them walk on it. So I don't think the cart did anything extra like some people think it did.
No, in training camp, everybody goes off on a cart because you're not taking them to the sideline. You're taking them to the locker room. So, yeah, everyone goes on a cart. But it's a little concerning for me just that he had to have already been hurt. There's already something wrong, right? And I'm sure he pushed to practice and which injured it or whatever. So, re-injury possibly. There's some concern here, I think. I believe the same leg that he blew his knee out. I think it's the same leg. So there could there's other issues that could arise during the season. It sucks. And, this is an important ramp up period. It really is. He could start the season slow. I don't think the Bengals as a whole are going to start super slow, but I don't know. I think this is a big enough of a red flag for me to at least be like, oh, this isn't the quarterback I'm going to reach for, I guess.
Interesting. Yeah, I don't totally disagree with that. I'm kind of in between you guys, Zach. Kind of sounds like you're on the path of, if it kind of there's a little smoke. There may be some fire there. It's just something to monitor. I'm kind of with you on that. Trevor, I also agree with you. I don't necessarily think that Joe Burrow's career is derailed. I don't think Cincinnati's season is derailed or anything like that. But I think you do need to proceed with caution, especially if you're doing fantasy drafts really quickly here during training camp. I would say proceed with caution on Joe Burrow if that's a reason that you that you don't you like if you're like Zach, if that's a reason you don't you don't want to take him, you don't want to reach for him. I completely support that. I totally understand that as well. I don't know if I've turned into like a fantasy drone from playing fantasy football for so many years of my life. But you guys will relate to this. As soon as I heard the Joe Burrow news, I went and picked up Trevor Siemian in one of my dynasty leagues, solely for the fact that it's super flex league and all the other quarterbacks are gone. So I think that's a play here too for fantasy.
Yeah, I mean, I think you have to at least talk about it. Currently, right now, Joe Burrow's going as the 4th quarterback. That's 35th overall. And I guess, like I said, to me, now it feels like there's a tier of Mahomes, Allen, and Hurts. And then I feel like Joe Burrow is his own tier for me personally, just because of the risk involved. After him is Lamar Jackson, who I'm never going to reach for Lamar Jackson because of his injury stuff. Then it's Justin Fields. I feel like he's going a little bit early. Justin Herbert's after that, Trevor Lawrence, Deshaun Watson. So I feel like if I end up with one of those top 3 quarterbacks, I feel good. But if I don't, I'm really waiting now at this point. I just don't need to reach. You brought up Myles Garrett, who I personally believe is the best defensive lineman in football. There's TJ Watt in the division. Mm-hmm. You got a bunch of psychos in Baltimore. Like, this isn't. He's gonna have to be on the move. I know the Bengals upgraded their tackles quite a bit. However, it's still the Bengals. It's still Zach Taylor calling plays. He's a lot like Matt LaFleur, where he doesn't know how to call plays for the offensive line, which is a thing. There's ways to game plan around stuff. And I feel like Joe Burrow is going to be put in situations like he still got hit last year. So I don't know. I'm probably making a bigger deal out of it than I need to, but I'm looking for reasons not to draft a quarterback early.
Sure.
And he gave me one.